Donald Trump has broken his silence on the most recent assassination attempt. He made some comments just last night. Let's go to those right now and hear Donald Trump on what happened just a couple of days ago in Florida.
I was with an agent, and the agent did a fantastic job. There was no question that we were off that course. I would have loved to have sank that last putt, but we decided, well, let's get out of here. And what the gunfire was actually, interestingly, was a Secret Service agent had seen a barrel of a AK-47, which is a very powerful gun, rifle, and he started shooting at the barrel, started shooting in the bushes.
Wow.
Could only see the barrel. How good is that, right? But could only see the barrel. Based on that, he started shooting and ran toward the target and was shooting a lot of, I mean, those were the shots we heard. The other one never got a shot off.
Some details there from Donald Trump that we didn't have yesterday. I suppose it's not anything that is going to change the narrative terribly. We pretty much knew what the situation was. Donald Trump confirming for us more than anything what happened there in Florida as he was playing a round of golf. For goodness sake, the reaction to this, as I said yesterday on this program, underwhelming by the news media. It used to be, if there was an attempt on the life of a president, it would have been covered thoroughly. It would have been really the only issue going on in society that would have been getting a lot of coverage. We've gone a long time. We've gone a long time. There have obviously been plots and people who have fired guns in the vicinity of the White House through the years and things like that. But as far as what you would consider to be a credible, direct threat on a president's life, we really hadn't seen that type of assassination attempt since John Hinckley shot President Reagan in 1981. We have now witnessed the first assassination attempt on Donald Trump. The entire world saw the footage that occurred in Butler, Pennsylvania, less than 10 weeks ago. And we've barely had time to digest that, although feels like it happened a long time ago. People aren't talking about it. And now we've had yet another one, a follow-up assassination attempt in Florida that thankfully was prevented by the Secret Service before it could develop further. I don't know how much more we need to see. We've already had MSNBC basically blaming Donald Trump for it, saying, "Hey, are you gonna tone down your rhetoric now? Look what you did to yourself." When you were a kid, did you ever have a bigger kid grab your hand and make you smack yourself in the forehead with your own hand? And then they would say, "Why are you hitting yourself? Why are you hitting yourself? Is your dumb ass is getting your hand slapped at your head?" That's kind of what the media is doing with Donald Trump in this instance. Why do these things keep happening to you? Why do people keep shooting at you? Have you learned your lesson yet? What sense does that make? Hillary Clinton was on MSNBC last night. She had some words about this. Donald Trump's opponent from 2016. Let's take a look at what Hillary Clinton had to say.
And I don't understand why it's so difficult for the press to have a consistent narrative about how dangerous Trump is. The late, great journalist Harry Evans, one time said that, journalists should, really try to achieve objectivity. And by that, he said, I mean, they should cover the object. Well, the object in this case is Donald Trump. His demagoguery, his danger to our country and the world, and stick with it.
This is yesterday. All right, I want you to digest this. I voted for Bill Clinton twice. Bill Clinton was the first person that I ever voted for in a presidential election, and I did so enthusiastically. Voted for him again in 96. In 2016, I was faced with a choice between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, and I'll be completely honest with you, I didn't like the choice at all. I really didn't. At that time, I thought Trump just does not have the temperament to be president, and even though I was no fan of Hillary Clinton, I held my nose and I voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016, is what I did. People assume sometimes that because you vote for someone, you're a huge fan of that person. But the adults in the room know that when you're presented with a binary choice, sometimes you just vote for who you can tolerate just a little bit better. I voted for Hillary in 2016. Here we are 8 years later, one day after the second assassination attempt on Donald Trump, and I'm talking about Hillary Clinton last night. It was the next day after what happened in Florida. Second one, we saw a bullet miss his head extremely narrowly in Pennsylvania just recently. Now we've got this that happens. She goes on national cable TV the day afterwards and says the press needs to create a consistent narrative about how dangerous Donald Trump is. Are you fucking kidding me? I'm pretty sure they accomplished that mission somewhere in time before David Muir and Lindsey Davis joined up with Kamala Harris like the fabulous fucking Freebirds to engage in the 3-on-1 debate that occurred on the ABC network. She's reiterating, even if this is what you believe, the press, can you imagine complaining that the press hasn't created a consistent narrative about how dangerous Donald Trump is? I mean, whether you like him or not, whether you're going to vote for him or not, I mean, I'm pretty sure the media has not been very fucking friendly. He coined the term fake news, what, 7, 8 years ago? The mainstream media is no friend to Donald Trump. They loved him as a story in 2016. They love the ratings that he generates. But in terms of being friendly to him, and the day after, I mean, what do you get? Do you get like a 48-hour break from your opponents telling everybody how dangerous you are after an assassination attempt? Apparently not. Did she even give him 24 hours? Maybe she gave him a little more than 24 hours. What did she give him? 30 hours maybe? 36? What was he allotted by Hillary Clinton before she went right back on TV complaining after people have tried to kill this motherfucker twice that the media really needs to do a better job of instilling in the population how dangerous Donald Trump is? You can't make it up. You really can't make it up. What a fucking thing to go on TV and say. I am joined now by the international streaming star live from Nashville, Tennessee, Ronnie T-Shirts. Ron, I got to tell you, Hillary Clinton going on television the day after somebody has tried to kill this man for the second time in less than 10 weeks, and she's more concerned about the media not portraying him as enough of a danger to our country than extending any sort of human sympathy to someone who damn near had his life taken again. I can't even fathom it.
Could you imagine me coming on this show or another show? Somebody interviews me like, tell me about what's going on with you and Ricky Cobb. You're a part of this show. And I say, I've got a problem that Ricky just is too damn serious on his Twitter account. Like, everything he does is serious. He's never funny. He's never irreverent. He never pokes fun at anything. He's just too serious. It's exactly what she just did, Ricky. Is she insane? Or does she just assume that anything that she says is going to get reported out there as fact, and then that just becomes the narrative? Because that was the ramblings of a crazy person.
I can't understand. I mean, she's past the point of even pretending. Kamala made the obligatory, glad that he's okay. I'm going to pretend that I haven't been talking all kinds of rhetoric about him tweet, right? She at least, even though she didn't mean it, or maybe she did, I don't know, but she at least made the tweet. I'm sorry this happened. There's no room for violence, whatever she said, blah, blah. But you get the idea. She at least did that. Joe Biden called him. Trump said that Biden called him. Asked if he was all right. Hillary's just going on TV complaining that he hasn't been portrayed as enough of a threat. She doesn't even care about how the optics of that look. That's the thing that's amazing. We're past the point of even feigning, at least Hillary Clinton is past the point of even taking a day or two to feign that she feels badly about it. Remember the first one, Ron, in Pennsylvania, where it was like we had to pretend that we hadn't been calling him Hitler,
right,
in order to extend human sympathy to him for a very brief amount of time, and then just boom, right back to all the same shit that was being said about him before. You said on this program yesterday that if the roles were reversed, and I don't love to go into hypotheticals, but if you do think about it, if you imagine some far right person who had written a bunch of stuff about how much they hated Kamala Harris and they hated the Democrats or whatever, went out and attempted some terrible act, I really think the media would be covering it very, very differently. And then imagine if Donald Trump or one of his surrogates went on TV and said, the problem is the media hasn't really portrayed Kamala Harris negatively enough. It would be considered an incitement to violence, I think. I really think that that is how the left would see it. And yet, when it happens in this context, not a fucking peep out of anybody who has a problem. It's okay. It's okay to support Kamala Harris's positions if that's what you believe. But this is about basic human decency and integrity, in my opinion, Ron. This is much bigger than partisan politics. We do have to calm the rhetoric down in this country, and I think the rhetoric can be calmed down on both sides, quite frankly. But we really need to think about it because, as I said yesterday on this show, Ron, if we get to the point where assassination attempts become even considered to be, these are just things that happen, we are going down a slippery slope that nobody's going to fucking like. Because I'm telling you right now, there should be absolutely zero tolerance for this kind of thing, and responsible voices in both parties should always rise to the forefront in times like this, because some things are a bigger part of the fabric of American society than just I'm a Democrat or I'm a Republican.
I don't know, man. I see a lot of compilation videos out there from the past, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 years, where you've got Democrats clearly calling for, I don't want to say violence, but taken a really, really, really hard stand that some might construe as a call to violence. I mean, there's one out there with Maxine Waters one time. I've seen Pelosi do it. You see it's over and over and over again. And I haven't seen one video, let alone a compilation video, of Republicans calling for violence against anybody or anything. So again, it's just this. I think you sent me an article a few weeks ago, Scott Adams, I believe, and it was talking about the brainwashing of America and how it was just very, very systematic. And it's, to me, it's just they just handle it like it's a marketing campaign, Coke and Pepsi and Doritos and whoever it is, they market and they get you to want to consume their product and believe in their product and believe that their product is for this and whatever. And I just see the same thing. It just, the media creates this narrative, and a lot of the people who don't really do a lot of thinking from themselves just buy into it. And they're like, yeah, Trump's evil. Trump's Hitler. You know what Trump's going to do if he's the president, which is crazy because I saw somebody tweet something yesterday, and hopefully I say this correctly, but if we want to know what's going to happen with whoever gets elected president this time, we've got proof. So Trump was the president. We saw what he did. Kamala was the vice president. We saw what happened under her joint administration. I don't understand, Ricky. It's just, unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there that are just really, really stupid. They hear one thing and they roll with it. But she said Trump is dangerous. Can you tell me how Trump is dangerous? Like, do you know anything that he's actually doing that's dangerous?
They believe that, or at least the narrative, I don't know if Hillary Clinton really believes it, but what is put forth is the idea that he wants to start a dictatorship and he'll just install himself as emperor or something. If he was going to do that, why didn't he do it the first time? If he wanted to be a dictator, why didn't he try to be a dictator? I know complaining about the election, being a sore loser is not the same thing as being a dictator. And we did have a peaceful transition of power. It wasn't a thing of beauty. But Ron, look, it happens on both sides. I'm sure if you went through and you started pouring through right-wing things, you would find some comments that were inflammatory. It's out there in the wind. We have seen a lot of it dictated towards Donald Trump, though, because there are a lot of people who really believe that Donald Trump is an existential threat to democracy. Now, as I say, I have never voted for the guy, but I also don't consider him to be an existential threat to democracy at all. Ron, this is making me tired, buddy. I need a good night's sleep. I'm not segging into a mattress commercial here. And by the way, Ron, mattress stores are clearly just for laundering drug money, aren't they? There's way too many mattress stores. Nobody's ever at them. That's a conspiracy theory that I'm pretty sure I believe.
There's always one car in front of the mattress store, and it's the person that's working. Nobody ever goes in there, and there's 1,000 of them. I mean, there's as many mattress stores as there are drugstores.
And they're together. Like, they'll be just congregated in one area. There'll be two across the street from each other. Nobody at either fucking one. It's like a Walter White crystal meth money laundering scheme.
Speaking of mattresses,
buying mattresses?
Well, speaking of mattresses, Ricky, is there any purchase that you've ever made in life that comes with so much trepidation of how the hell am I supposed to determine by laying on this mattress in your store for 20 seconds, this is going to be the mattress for me for the next, what do we keep mattresses for? 8-9 years? Like, that's it's a crazy ass big decision to make.
It's embarrassing because
seconds.
You lay down and like the length of time that you need to lay there you feel like it would be socially unacceptable to lay there for that long. So I always pop up like way sooner than I needed. And I convinced myself like those 20 seconds really told the story. I think that one felt good. And then I have recency bias. It's like every one that I lie down on feels better than the one before. And then inevitably I regret that I got the wrong one. But again, how many mattresses have I purchased in my life? I'm 53 years old. I've purchased like 4 mattresses ever or something. You know, it's not like people are out there doing that. Anyway, Ron, a good night's sleep was one of the options. Today's poll of the day, America's poll, over at Super 70 Sports on X, is brought to you courtesy of Ronnie T-shirts. This is the second time that Ronnie has been given the car keys to just do whatever he wanted. He sent this over to me last night, I believe it was, Ron, and I just green-lit it because the longer this show goes on, the harder it is to do these, and it's just like, fuck it. If I can outsource it to you once in a while, I'm all about it. So let's go through the options here real quickly. We've got Popeye's chicken. We've got, remember when their chicken sandwich was just capturing America's hearts and minds there a few years ago, and people were lining up and waiting for those sandwiches? A good night's sleep. Welcome to the Jungle by, of course, Guns N' Roses, and the beloved 1980s sitcom Sam Malone and Cheers. So with the stage set here, before producer Tim does his thing, tell me who you vote for and who you predict will. Although I think you've already seen the results. So I'm
going to talk about what I thought was going to happen. I really thought that I was going to get. I never think you're going to get 25 across the board, but I thought I had done a pretty good job. Popeye's chicken is fantastic, but I think even better than Popeye's chicken is that biscuit, that salty, buttery biscuit. Oh, it's just amazing. A good night's sleep. Absolutely. I don't know the last time I had a good night's sleep, so I really would like a good night's sleep. Welcome to the Jungle. I mean, that song came out in the late 80s, and it's still out there. It is an anthem for so many different sporting events, it's crazy. And Cheers is, again, one of those, I'm like, okay, I can't put in Seinfeld, but I do want to put in something that's really good. And Cheers is fantastic. Funny story about Cheers, Ricky. So I always joke with you about I had better things to do in the 80s than watch TV and consume movies and all that kind of stuff. You know, I was in college. So I didn't watch Cheers when it came out. So Lori and I got married in 89, moved to Minneapolis, and Cheers was in syndication by then. And so I was getting to watch Cheers for the first time ever. But dude, I was getting to watch it every night, 5 nights a week, instead of having to wait a week like everybody else did. It was awesome. Like I got to watch this thing like fast, and it was just such a great show. So I voted for a good night's sleep, and I'm not gonna say what's the number one in an absolute runaway that probably we should put head to head with beer. But let's let Tim go ahead and do his pick and reveal the results.
Yeah. For anybody over 50, a good night's sleep, that might as well say incredible sex, Ron. I feel like a good night's sleep. That is like, that's a coin flip for me at this stage of my life.
Right?
So I'm gonna go with a good night's sleep here. I think Popeyes is gonna finish last. Is my prediction.
Oh gosh.
And look at that! Wow. A good
not as bad as
night's
Pop
sleep.
Rocks.
Destroying. Welcome to the Jungle. You got two that are.
Yeah.
You got two that are cratering there, pal.
I mean, you've got to do a good night's sleep versus beer. Like that's crazy. But I guess it's your audience. Your audience is in our same wheelhouse, right?
Bunch of geriatric motherfuckers. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you say,
well,
Ricky?
You know who needed a comfortable mattress last night, Ron? Saquon Barkley.
Dude.
Man, snatching defeat from the jaws of victory, the Philadelphia Eagles last night. I believe, they've got these modern analytics, Ron, where they can give you win probability and all of that stuff. We see this all the time where some games 14-7 in the first quarter, and it says a team has a 61.3% chance of winning. And I'm always like, who are you, God? How do you fucking know? But anyway, there's a bunch of nerds who press numbers into machines. And according to those nerds, the Falcons had a scant 0.7% chance of winning last night with 156 left to go in the fourth quarter, and the Eagles possessing the football with the lead. And I know that there is criticism of the decision to pass, which when the ball bounced off of Saquon's fingers there, stopped the clock, giving the Falcons valuable additional time to try to get down the field and score. I get that. I'm always generally the guy who second guesses teams for throwing an incomplete pass when they're trying to kill the clock, because that is on my list of sports pet peeves. But I'm not even going to go after the coach here, Ron, because the play was executed as drawn up, and if Barkley is able to haul it in, the game's over.
Yeah, it was basically a long handoff, Ricky. Like there was nothing, it wasn't throwing it into coverage. He was out there exactly by himself. You talk about your pet peeve, my pet peeve, and, as bad as Saquon dropping that pass was, which, had he caught it, the game was literally over, but he didn't catch it. But there still was an opportunity for the Eagles not to lose. And they did my pet peeve, Ricky, and that is prevent defense prevents wins. It's ridiculous. You play a whole game of manning up and saying we are better than you, and we're going to take it to you, and then you get the last drive, and your booty hole gets tight, and so you're like, oh, we're going to back off and just let them just go just do whatever they want down the field. It's insane. Prevent defense never works, and yet you see coach after coach after coach after coach. Prevent defense. We don't want to give up the big play. It's insane, Ricky. It's insane. Eagles deserve to lose, not because Saquon dropped the ball, but because they went into prevent defense. Thoughts?
Ron, I haven't heard a word you said after your booty hole gets tight. That is... Like after that, like it's all I could do just to like maintain some degree of professionalism here. But remember how we used to name our podcast, Ron? That would be the name of this episode of the Ricky Cobb Show. Well, it killed the Jason Kelce good vibes, losing the game like that. Kirk Cousins. You can throw math out. I guess mathematics can just be thrown out of the equation when Kirk Cousins is under center, motherfucker. Because he got the job done for the Dirty Birds. And the Kelces are going to, I guess, have to, Jason Kelce at least will have to take comfort in the fact that he and his brother are just America's fucking sweethearts now, aren't they? And
they're in every
Kirk
commercial.
Cousins, they're very fired up. They're in every commercial.
Every commercial.
And I like that. And I like them. I particularly think Jason Kelce is a likable guy. As I've said, Travis Kelce follows me, which makes him cool with me. His girlfriend is my 16-year-old daughter's idol, which makes him cool with my daughter. So I can see where the appeal is with these guys. They're just two dudes. The cereal, though, have you seen this? They've got the Kelce mix, And from what I understand, it's like Reese's Puffs, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and Lucky Charms just thrown into a bowl by Satan himself. Can you imagine trying to choke down Reese's Puffs, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and Lucky Charms? This is like some experiment that one of my daughters would have done when they were 7 years old, Ronnie.
Reese's Pieces and Cinnamon Toast Crunch absolutely makes sense to me, but then you throw in the Lucky Charms, and that's just like kind of an overpowering artificial fruit flavor, and that would just be vile to me. You know, that reminds me of, you ever hear about people, I've never done this before, it's called a suicide, when you go to like a Burger King or a McDonald's and the fountain drinks, and you just take a little bit of everything, and that's kind of what this feels like.
You fucking communist,
What?
You've never done a suicide?
Oh gosh,
you're like,
no.
what is this thing, comrade? Suicide that they tell me about in Soviet Russia. They say that you're letting your guard down there. Yakov. Suicide. I've never done a suicide. What is this thing they call suicide? Oh,
I know what it is. I've never done it.
You go to 7-Eleven and then you squirt the juices into the cup. We didn't have those in Moscow. Yes, of course I've done a suicide because I'm a goddamn American citizen, Ron.
Come
on now.
Say squirt the juices in the cup again with the Russian accent for me.
Squirt the juices in the cup at the 7-Eleven. I don't know. I'm turning into Italian. It's like the longer I do this, I'm like one step away from just being like, let's go. And I'm fucking Mario over here. I don't have a good accent game to begin with. What am I tweeting? Good God. What am I tweeting, Ron? That's my other job when I'm not here with you talking about
squirting in the juice
booty holes and suicides. I don't know. Yeah, we need. Let's go. Place kicking, Ron. The guy from the Texans kicked 4 50-plus yard field goals on Monday night. Like it was fucking nothing. Yeah, and what I understand is he had 2 the previous week. And unless I'm wrong, correct me if I'm wrong in my ear, producer Tim, because I'm just teeing it high and letting it fly here. I don't want to be loose with facts. But this guy's got 6 50-plus yard field goals in the first 2 weeks of the season, unless I'm mistaken. And boys, they're going to be egg on my face if I am. There's Tony Frisch, the late great kicker for the Houston Oilers and for some other teams. I believe he was a Cowboy at one point as well. He was the AFC's All-Pro kicker in I guess that card is a 1980, so that probably makes him the All-Pro kicker for 1979. And just look at him, Ron. I looked up his career record. He had 5 50-plus yard field goals in his entire career. And he was in the league for like 13 or 14 years. Hey, in all honesty, and I'm having fun with that tweet saying that he looks like a Laugh Olympics character and whatever, because kickers used to be kind of comical. Garo Yepremian and guys like Tony Frisch, Efren Herrera, they were usually like little guys. Sometimes they were pudgy. They had their little 1-bar face mask. And
they're talking like this sometimes.
And yeah, I kick a touchdown, and it's like because we need more accents from me on this show. Anything over 40 yards was like you lit a candle and got out your rosary beads and prayed, because kicking used to not be just like automatic. Like, we've made it to the other team's 40. We'll just bring in some automatic guy who can kick it 70 yards straight 90% of the time. What else in American life, Ron, has gotten better at as fast of a rate since we were kids, at least in sports, than kicking? It's unbelievable how good they are now.
Yeah, man. Have you ever watched old footage? And when I mean old footage, I mean like 1920, 1930 of football, American football. Ricky, it doesn't look that much different than today. You can tell that there's like the speed of the players might be down a little, but in terms of watching it, it looks remarkably similar. When if you watch basketball, it doesn't. But you are right about kickers. There's like guys in the 70s could throw the ball 60, 70 yards, right? So it's the only thing. The only thing is, the size of the linemen, like the linemen back at like, I think the Steelers, that the 4 Super Bowl Steelers, I saw something. I think the average weight of their offensive line was like 230 pounds. And so now
that might be a little low, but they've gotten much more massive,
much bigger. But in terms of just that one thing, I mean, you're right, Jason. Jason Tucker and Boswell and Fairburn and the guy for Atlanta last night. They're just if it's 55 yards, it's pretty confident that they're going to make it.
Through the first 2 weeks of the season, listen to this. Through the first 2 weeks of the season, NFL kickers are 35 of 37 from over 50 yards, and the only 2 misses are from Justin Tucker, who is considered by many to be the greatest kicker in the history of the NFL. He's the only guy who's missed. 35 of 37 from over 50 yards. It's an entirely different sport that those kickers are playing than the one that kickers were playing back in our day. All right, we're going to go to a break now.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Ron.
Oh, no, I can't remember who it was this weekend. Yeah, this weekend, somebody kicked, I believe it was a 59-yard field goal. Ricky, that thing was easily 10 feet above the crossbar and hit the net.
Yeah. We're going to see a 70-yarder.
Oh, yeah.
At some point. I think the record right now is still 66. 70 is going to be in play, in the near future. There's no doubt. It could happen any week, honestly. It'll just take somebody being in position at the end of the first half or something where they just decide that they're going to go for it.
Hey, OutKick fans on YouTube, if you enjoyed this episode, hit the subscribe button and make your way over to OutKick.com where you can watch the full episode.